and good Wednesday evening, and welcome to our first edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show here in the month of February. I'm Chase Miller, and as always, the Coaches Show is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. This week on the program, a little wrestling, a little hockey, and a little hoops, as we got you covered for all three sports. We'll start off the conversation with Justin Lehmann here from the Kindred Wrestling Program for girls and boys. Kindred will host the Southeast Region, or the Region 1 duels at Kindred, coming up on Saturday here at YourLiveEvent.com. Also, we'll be joined by Parker Metz of the Fargo North-South girls hockey team. The Bruins off to a really good season. They're just a handful of games left in the regular season. They know they're going to state. It's just a matter of what seed line will they be later on here in the month. From there, Brandon Giese of Park Christian Boys Basketball will be joining the conversation. Also, we'll hear from Jay Bachman from Central Cass, Jeff Ralph of Wahpeton, and our senior spotlight this week is Isaiah Wright of Fertile-Beltrami, talking with his commitment to go to collegiately at University of Minnesota Duluth. That and more is still to come here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. As we continue on our coaches show, as we get you ready for February Frenzy, which means in North Dakota, it is postseason time when it comes to high school wrestling on the mat. Joining us here is Justin Lehmann here, the head coach for the Kindred Vikings. And Justin, this year, a really nice opportunity. I know the dual switches out throughout the respective teams that are there every year, but this season you're able to host the duels. You'll be entering in that 4-5 matchup with EEK at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. So before we talk about the tournament, just how has the season gone? A lot of eighth graders, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores on the roster this season. So how's everything gone from the boys' perspective here this year, Justin?
Yeah, pretty well. We've had pretty good dual season overall, even individual tournament wise. We kind of surprised ourselves this past weekend, even out at the East West. We were kind of battling for that top 5 finish there and fell just off at the end. But overall, we just have a really good group of kids. Most of them been wrestling varsity for a while, so they're kind of used to it and stuff. And I think that's really helped the process, whether it be duels or individual tournaments or whatever. They just kind of know what to expect at this point.
How does these tournaments with East West, whether it's been Store Hog, those respective ones that are later in the year, it kind of gets you ready for what you're going to see in these next couple of weeks with the duels, with the individuals next week and going to Grafton. How does that end of the season, help these wrestlers before you get ready for postseason action here, Justin?
Yeah, you kind of see everyone that's getting down to weight, all the different weight shifts. So you're kind of getting some of those matchups. You kind of where we might maybe have to move around, things like that. But it just, it's a lot of big tournaments at the end of the year, that really all of January, and just prepares you for what's about to come. Like every match is going to be close. It's, a little mistake is going to cost you, but if you can catch the opponent with a little mistake, different things can happen. Kind of just sets you up.
What would it mean to, host the duel, but also have a good showing at the duel on Saturday? Last year was one of those crazy tournaments down in Lisbon, came in right down to the wire. You're sitting there ready for that challenge match. Then all of a sudden, boom, Lisbon, makes the move, and all of a sudden they're able to defeat South Border. Maybe we'll get something similar to that with how close these teams can be this season on the mat, Justin. But what do you just kind of expect from your team once you get to 10 o'clock in the morning with EEK opposing you right off the bat in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, talking about last year, I don't know that we're really over that. That was a tough pill to swallow. Our kids were really excited for that opportunity. We've never been in that situation before in school history, and so that's kind of been in the back of our minds throughout the season too. And just knowing that going into this tournament, like everyone's been so close. Like we've had those top 3 teams beat each other. The next 3 teams, especially, have kind of been right there with them. Even some of the dual results might look lopsided, and it's just a handful of matches that are really affecting things. So it's gonna be a crazy day, that's for sure.
What makes duels just more challenging or more interesting from a coach's perspective than individuals? What makes this weekend a little bit different from when you get up to Grafton, and then you got individuals going on next weekend here, Justin?
Yeah, just the constant adjustments. Like we're not, an individual tournament, we're not used to having to adjust on the fly, whether it's who's showing first, which kids might be able to go out on the mat, things like that. Constantly penciling down, like, where's this score looking like going forward? Just those minor things that, in an individual tournament, kids are at their weight, you go wrestle, and the bracket might play out differently, but with duels, you just have to be ready. It's a lot different.
What's a trait or characteristic that best describes this year's wrestling club on the boys' side? What's one thing that you've really liked to see from your kids, from the practice to the mats to what they've been able to do, in competition so far this year?
Yeah, just the willingness to keep finding ways to get better, to kind of we've used the word dictate a lot throughout the season, just dictating the matches and not letting anyone else dictate what's going to happen, whether it is the opponent, the refs, whatever. Just kind of taking things into our own hands. And our kids have done a great job with that. And I think that's kind of helped build in their mind that what they're really capable of.
I know the duels have been very similar in prior years. Some still call it Region 1, Region 2, the Southeast, Northeast, depending on who you talk to, as you know, Justin. But something that was a little bit different last year was going to a straight individual side was just the Big East region, instead of having those respective individual regional tournaments to get you to state then to placing. So how much have you had conversations with your wrestlers about it, Justin? And has it made a big difference from maybe what it was 2, 3 years ago to where it is now, trying to get to state as an individual?
Yeah, it provides more opportunities. Some weight classes maybe it provides more, some less, depending on what the northeast side of it has. But just having 8 opportunities instead of 4, we talked about you never know what's going to happen, and just kind of showing up and who's healthy, who might be sick, things like that. It just provides an extra opportunity, and it's just getting better wrestlers to the state tournament as a whole, rather than you might have a region that only has 4 kids and 2 of them haven't won a match all year. It's just kind of the way it played out before, where now we're getting a lot higher quality that's going to state.
As you go from there to the girls' side, the one thing I've been talking with, girls wrestling coaches over the last couple of years, it seems like this is a year where everything is actually set. It's not something different. You're not adding a tournament. You're not adding individuals. You're not adding duels. You're not seeing where you're going to be at state compared to where the boys are a little bit. So, from a girls' perspective here, Justin, is that a fair assessment to say this has about been a quote unquote as normal of a year you can get, knowing that here is what it's been through if a wrestler's been through the program, that there's not any changes, so to speak, to what this season kind of provides compared to the last couple of years?
Yeah, pretty close. I'd say there's still some adjustments, like which tournaments are going on where, which ones are maybe a little more beneficial, things like that. But it's definitely like it is really nice. Like things were set up a lot more in advance this year. We kind of had a plan. The kids kind of know what the plan is throughout the year, and I think it's one less thing that the kids have to think about, right? Like you don't have to worry about, oh, where are we going the next couple weeks and things like that. So I think it's been very beneficial for the girls in general, just knowing what to expect finally.
As they kind of get ready for the individual tournament, same question that I kind of asked you about the boys from the girls individual tournament. Just how have you seen that tournament continue to grow? I guess number one with girls wrestling, and number two, how is that kind of a little bit similar or different if there's a fan that's coming out watching? Obviously, I don't think there's much difference on the match, just maybe the number of wrestlers that are able to make it to state here, Justin.
Yeah, it's amazing how far girls wrestling has come in the last couple of years here. The competitive side of girls, I mean, it seems like everything's really wide open. You know, you don't really know what to expect going into a lot of it, and I think it's good for the sport, like just wrestling in general, to see some of this with the girls and just how it can play out. And I just think, you know, they're learning so much these past few years, and it's getting to the point where like sometimes it is almost more fun than the boys, because there's just different things going on with it, and just it's gotten so competitive that it's definitely enjoyable to watch and be a part of.
And just like on the boys' side for so many years, you're seeing some of those wrestling names on the girls' side as well, either that has that heritage or there's certain girls that are making their own name that's kind of becoming, so to speak, a legendary in the state of North Dakota. Let's talk about one of them. I know she's really good as well on the cross country side, obviously just as good when it comes to the wrestling mat, Taryn Raceler. Just kind of how have you seen her progression this year on the mat?
Yeah, she puts in the work. She works hard every day. She's just continually gotten better. She kind of, in her eyes, had a disappointing state tournament last year, and it's really driven her. And we kind of call her like a little pit bull. She just keeps going and going, and I mean, you know, this past weekend was her first North Dakota loss. It was a close match. She had one other loss in Minnesota, but it's just always like, what can I do to get better? What can I do to get better? And um, it definitely shows. Like she's constantly finding a way to get better and hoping at the end of the year it works out for her.
Have you seen just in particular in Kindred? I know on the girls' side, every program's a little bit different compared to boys, where if you haven't made a program in 2, 3 years, it feels like, most teams have a dual team. Most teams have enough, obviously, to throw out there for individuals. Have you seen your girls' program just continue to evolve and grow and finding ways where maybe I always use the word recruiting, and that perks people's ears up going, well, wait, are you taking other kids from different school districts? It's no, it's you're recruiting the hallways. You're getting, your friends are coming out that might be statisticians that give a chance to wrestle. Are you seeing that on the girls' side a little bit in Kindred there, Justin, in terms of just the growth of that particular program?
Yeah, we only have 6 girls this year, but Taryn Razor and Naomi Miller, they were just pestering people in the hallway, and they actually got some boys that come out on our team too. They just between cross country and everything else they're involved in, that's a big part of it. And like I give them a lot of credit because like kids listen to kids more than they listen to adults a lot of times, and they did a great job of just bugging people until they pretty much until someone said yes.
At this particular point, just seeing how both the programs have been able to merge together, what's it like from a coach's perspective, being involved with the girls, being involved with the boys? Obviously, there's tournaments almost every weekend in some capacity, depending on how far you want to travel, where you want to go. Seeing if you can go to South Dakota, Minnesota, North Dakota, everywhere in between here, Justin. So, what's it like for you and your coaching staff, just kind of penciling the schedule together and finding a way to get from when you're starting, in the fall, so to speak, to when you finally finish here in February?
Right. It's good. I got good assistants. You have one main girls assistant who's kind of taken over everything, and it helps, on both sides of it. It helps ease my mind with what we're doing, no matter whether I got to go somewhere or, I mean, even if I'm homesick, like I know things are covered, taken care of. So I give them a lot of credit for just taking the reins for what needs to happen and not missing a beat, whether, who's there or who's not. It's kind of been seamless this year, so it's great.
Final thing for me, Justin, we'll have coverage we were talking about before the interview here that will be in Kindred, will be up in Grafton, will be, in Castleton for all the Kindred Viking wrestling here in this postseason. But why should someone, if they haven't came out so far this year, why should someone come out to Kindred this weekend, 10 o'clock in the morning for the quarters at 10 and 11? Then it just kind of rolls throughout the day if they can make their travel up to Grafton, next Saturday for the boys individuals or on Valentine's Day for the girls, that'll be in Castleton. Why should someone come out and check out, whether it's Kindred Wrestling or just local wrestling here this season on the mat?
Yeah, different tournaments bring different things. Like the dual tournament, like our region dual tournament has always been super exciting. It gets really loud. Um, it just you don't really know what's going to happen. There's so many things going on, and especially when you have two good duels going on at once, just you don't know who's cheering for what mat. We expect our gym to be pretty loud here on Saturday. We're really excited to host that. Then just the individual tournaments, there's just like we talked about, there's so much competitiveness that it's just such good wrestling going on. And like I think even people that don't really know what's going on, they just feel that excitement, especially you get into those blood round matches where kids are going to state or not, or maybe it's those final matches where kids have wrestled each other and exciting matches. So I think just it's that excitement that people don't necessarily always understand happens with wrestling, and just feeling those gyms kind of rocking, know.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see that atmosphere. As always, Justin, thank you so much for your time and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday in Kindred.
Good. Thanks for having me.
As we continue now, as we go from the wrestling mat to the ice here, joining us from the Fargo North Bruins girls hockey team, that again is Parker Metz joining us. And Parker, crazy to think, just like any coach, you kind of put your head down to start the season. You go through the dog days of latter part of December, early part of January. Now you look up a couple weeks left in the regular season before you get ready for postseason. So just overall, take the wins and losses out of it. Just how has everything gone from your point of view this year as a head coach for the Bruins?
Yeah, it's been a really good year so far. From the start, I think there's definitely that expectation to, to continue the, what's been produced by the groups prior to this year. But the biggest challenge every year is how do you write your own chapter of this story? Um, and for our senior leadership group, they're a part of our first one as a group, and they've been part of the legacy that's been trying to get established here, and they know how to get through the hard moments. And I always joke about this. Is about my second. It was my second year, and I say, there's a time during the season that is super hard, and it's like that December 27th to January 16th, 17th time. That is always the hardest time, and I always relate it back to you're around friends and family for a long period of time. What's going to happen? You're going to get irritated with each other. You're going to poke each other's buttons the right way, the wrong way, and it's a big time for growth. And we, for whatever reason, once we get out of that little funk at that middle time of the year, things just they tend to trend north in the right direction to where we want to be. And we're playing, the idea is to play the right brand of hockey at the right part of the year. So right now, I think we're on that path. I'm really, really happy with how our kids have come out of that so far. And overall, everyone's improved this year. Super proud of the whole group.
I know there's probably enough people in, girls hockey or fans of hockey that look at the Bruins and say, okay, you guys should make it to state, but it's not that simple. You've been able to see girls hockey continue to evolve and grow. We were talking, just the amount of teams or certain co-ops that kind of make their way at certain time here. So Parker, what's the message to the team knowing that there's probably talent, there's probably numbers. You obviously have the opportunity to go maybe a little bit deeper than some teams do, but that's just the nature of any high school sport at any high school level. But what's the message to these girls to not be satisfied just looking at the record, knowing where you can possibly get to, at the end of the year?
It's again, it's the we're my biggest message is every day bring your best version of yourself. Whether we always preach about you got to keep outside things that happen that are out of our control. You got to keep those outside the rink, because what matters most is within the rink. And then when you get into the game or a practice, like what matters most, it's within the glass. And that's whether it's a big crowd or there's no crowd. Um, those kids love each other. They support each other, and that's what matters the most. And then having myself and Haley on the bench with them, like they know like we are there for them, and it's a family atmosphere, and everyone's pulling for each other. So
In hockey, you have to start obviously with the goaltenders. Let's talk about a couple of them that you have this year with both Alyssa and Olivia. What have you just kind of seen from those two in particular here, Parker, that's have made, so to speak, that marriage work really well on the ice? When you take a look at their stats, they're both playing a lot of minutes. They're getting opportunities to get in the net. So, what has made that 1-2 combination work well for the club this season?
I know I made the analogy to him last year, like the Linus Olmark, Jeremy Swayman connection with the Boston Bruins. They support each other. They're goofy. They whether who's starting or who's sitting that game, they're always their biggest supporters, and they're always talking to each other. They have their own little weird way to go about their day, but they're awesome, and the kids love it. They rally around it. And this year, it's been a huge challenge for them. For us as a team in general, we've been offensively gifted this year. We spent a lot of time not in our zone, so the biggest challenge for them is like, how do you stay engaged through a hockey game when you're going to see maybe 3, 4, 5 shots span in 10, 20 seconds, and then may not see a puck for 5 or 6 minutes, and then go back and the same thing repeat, rinse and repeat. And there's been times where we got caught, whether that was breakdowns or just things happen because they happen. And it's hockey. It's a game of mistakes, and it's as coaches and as athletes, we have to learn from those mistakes, and how do we address those, how do we move forward, and how do we correct it so it doesn't happen again. But it's been so fun. They get in there. They're ballers. And they're fun to be around. So
Another player to bring up here in Lauren Terstrip, just kind of how have you seen her development throughout the course of the season on and off the ice?
Lauren's been great. So I've been lucky to have her. This is her third year playing for us now. So I was actually able to, was lucky to get her as an eighth grader. And she's got that tall stature. I'll never forget our first scrimmage when she was an eighth grader. Someone had reached or like kind of peeked around the bench, said, "Oh, who's that?" And I kind of joked, "Well, that's our new European it's our new European transfer." And they like, "What?" Like I was just like making a joke, and so she kind of got named the Euro, as an eighth grader, and because she's 6 foot and she's a really good skater, and now having her, she's a sophomore this year, and she's gotten just comfortable with the way that she plays. She's hard on pucks. She's an awesome skater. She's just a really nice presence on the ice. And again, she's still young. She's still a sophomore. She's the girls will rally behind her when things maybe get tough. But man, like when she's on a string, like she's a player to watch. Like she's a really fun one to track. So she's been good.
Where is girls hockey at just overall in terms of the collegiate level landscape where North Dakota is? Obviously, a lot of people talk about Britta Curl most recently, and rightfully so, seeing what she's been able to do. You're seeing certain basketball as an example. The Mariley Simons from West Fargo going D1, Chloe Fowl going to what she's been able to do, Jackson Money now at NDSU. So you're seeing a lot of that local talent make its way to the next level. Where is that local talent here, Parker, in the grand scheme of things, and women's college hockey in North Dakota to where it is today?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that is girls hockey keeps growing in North Dakota overall. We have a special player on our team, Kelly Fisher. She's a St. Thomas commit. She made the USA U18 Women's World Team, where she was over in Finland for 2 weeks this year. Um, they won a silver medal, and she said best herself. It shows like with the advancement of girls hockey right now, you don't have to leave to get that exposure. I mean, Britta Curl showed that years ago. Kenley's showing it now. Girls hockey is getting bigger, faster, stronger. There's more kids committed to their high school programs, and it's really fun to watch. And also, that's a huge, I think that's a huge accolade to give, North Dakota amateur hockey too. They're providing more opportunities. And selfishly, I'm part of that too. But off our roster, we have 14 girls that play Team North Dakota, whether it's tier 1 or tier 2 hockey. The kids want more. And if the kids want more, I'm a firm believer that we have to provide more. And that's something that's been, that the state is looking at that as a development model. Um, I was part of a girls fall summit in Jamestown this October before the high school season. So it was 14 and under and 12 and under. And it was the first year that we did it as this new little revamp for it. And we had over 65 kids signed up for that camp. And we had kids from all corners of the state. And the kids loved it, but it was, just seeing that excitement for just a one weekend event that moved into it was like more like a mini tournament deal that we split teams into after that. But the kids were awesome, and they ate up all the education that we gave them. And it's now we're just in Dickinson, and I saw two of the players playing 14U against each other. Like, hey, coach, how are you doing? Like it's like those relationships that you see that you don't really necessarily know what those kids remember you, but now looking back, like it's February now, and they remember me from October. So it's super cool to like have that, come full circle.
Is this something that you've been able to see, Parker, in terms of the growth? I know the one knock on hockey always is you don't have enough ice to find the time to practice when you want or to get on the ice, no matter what it is, whether it's indoor or outdoor. Some years maybe you can go outdoor on a Saturday and just have some fun and get out there. Other years, well, it's 25 degrees and sunny, and you're not going outdoors with hockey when it comes to rinks. So what's the one challenge from your perspective as a coach that you're seeing any particular program across the state just have to evolve through over the course of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, ice is hard to get. I mean, you look at the youth programs all across the state, and you have, there's only so many rinks they can get teams into. Like for our high school program, Tyler Klein, the head boys coach for North, he and I grew up together, and he and I have a really good relationship. And so we had to maneuver our practice schedules around, hey, like what works best? This is our time slot. What works for your staff? What works for my staff? And it's just that constant communication, and just figuring things out. But I don't know. I guess they say we're hockey people. We figure things out on the run. It's an evolving sport, so we got to think on our feet quite a bit. But yeah, it's hard. It's tough.
When you look at this team, Parker, just the Spruans again, and it's kind of what you alluded to earlier, making the most out of each day and what you can do. But what's a trait or characteristic from the start of the season to where you're at now that you're most proud of this team that you want them to carry once you get into that postseason play here in North Dakota?
I would say to part of our culture piece is being resilient, being supportive, being respectful, and then just to send it. So be resilient. We made T-shirts a couple years ago, bend don't break, and then just supporting everyone, being respectful to everyone, whether that's our teammates, whether that's opponents, referees, coaches, everybody around us. In the community, in the classroom, making sure everyone feels supported and making sure like our kids that wear our logo, right? They're putting their best version of themselves out there, making sure they understand, like, hey, this is who we are. This is our program. And then just send it. It was a gal. There's a girl from my first season, MJ, and you're building our culture piece, and she just send it. And well, let's define it. What does that mean? And that's a culmination of being trying to be the hardest team to play against every night. Never backing off the gas pedal. Always just moving forward. Again, touching on the resilient piece. You might get scored on, but what's your response to those things? And just keep going. Whether you're in the thick of the dark days of the winter time, that 2.5 week span that I've got penciled down just about to the date right now after a couple of years of experience on that. They just find a way, and that's my expectation, I think, moving forward.
A couple of games left. Head out to Mandan on Saturday. Then you kind of get ready for the last of the regular season. A couple tilts with West Fargo United. Then you close out the year before you get ready for the postseason. Parker, as always, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck here throughout the month of February.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsborough.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
Welcome to the Your Live Event Coaches Show. Here, I'm Josh Boyko, joined by head coach of the Park Christian Falcons boys team, Brendan Giese, coming off of a win on Monday night against the Mahnomen-Waban Thunderbirds. Coach, good to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we saw on Monday the Falcons get off to a little bit of a slow start. We were down 10-3 on that scoreboard, but a 20-6 run. You guys were able to come back real fast from that game against the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, Coach Clark always has a good plan, right? We played them, I think, 10 days prior or somewhere close to that, and that game was not overly competitive at that time. But I always know going into a game against the Thunderbirds that they're going to be well prepared when we play them that second time for something different. And that this wasn't any different on Monday. Coach Clark had them coming in. They played confidently. They hit some shots early, and I would say, our guys maybe weren't quite paying attention to some of the detail that we would normally want to stay on top of, and kind of led to that slower start. But after we kind of, I don't know, say calmed down, but once we started to really focus in on what we were trying to do, the execution came through, and we started to hit some shots and get some stops. And really, I should have said that in the opposite order: get some stops, then make some shots, as we try to prioritize the defensive end first. That really kind of led to that run.
Yeah, I noticed that on the radio call that night, and once you guys were forcing some misses, but once you were able to get some rebounds and then start running in transition, that seemed to spark some of the offense to trim that gap, didn't it?
Yeah, anytime we can get out in the open floor and get some easier looks, like against a defense that isn't set, your chances of success are a lot higher. And so when we could do that, I think early on we didn't do a great job of securing boards. We were in pretty good position. We just didn't secure them and get it outletted and get out in transition. And so yeah, being able to do that helped us get a few easy buckets to kind of help you ease into the offensive game.
Yeah, and once you guys did kind of ease into the offensive game, especially in the second half, we saw Isaac Jacobson really break out in that game, 29 points. Talk about just the milestone that Jacobson hit for the 1,000 points last week, and then just the type of player that he is as a shot maker.
Oh yeah, we are a little bit spoiled where we get accustomed to Isaac having those stretches in games where he just gets really locked in and finds a way to really give us that boost offensively. Like you said, last week he was able to reach that 1,000-point milestone, and it's just a testament to how hard he works to kind of hone in on his skills and just relentless in the work ethic perspective. Kind of talked about that with some of our younger guys in practice throughout the week, just talking about that from what we see from our varsity and then Isaac in particular, and some of these guys, that what you see on the varsity floor doesn't just happen, right? There's an immense amount of time and effort and focus that are taken on improving both in and out of the of season. And so Isaac has been a great example of that. Since he was really young, he's been working very hard and with goals in mind of what he wanted to be as a basketball player. And so it was really happy to see for him kind of that, to get to that milestone just helps get some of that maybe external validation. But we always know how important he is to our group. And so was happy to see that for him.
It feels like every time I am around a Falcons game, it's a different starter that has their night. So talk to me about the unique but vital skill sets that each of your starters really provides. We've already talked about Isaac, but the rest of them just all have something that they excel at, it seems.
Yeah, we really try to stress as a group that to play as a team, right? And so making that extra pass, doing the little things that help your team be successful. And yeah, you're right. On any given night, any of our guys that see significant time might have their night. And I think sometimes when we say that, a lot of times it looks like, well, that's on the points, right? But the reality is we have guys that contribute all over the place. Whether it's Bridger Carlson and Daniel Swears and Tyler Loeb on the glass, whether it's Tyler Loeb, facilitating our offense, or timely steals off the bench from both Logan Giese and Josiah Berge. And then, timely shot making from various different guys, whether that's Gavin Giese or Isaac Jacobson or, any of our guys. And so any given night, you hopefully the opponents don't really know who's going to be the guy that night. And so that's why we really preach just being ready for when it's your opportunity. And then when guys start to get hot, understanding that and knowing, to get them the ball during that time. And then preaching again to all of the guys, just finding your ways, right? And the ways you're gifted to be able to help our team win. Because ultimately, that being the goal, right? All the stats in the world won't really matter if we're not putting up W's. And so, and I think the guys have really bought into that. And now we got a group that's a lot more mature, that's been through this, multiple times before. And so I think that just helps us to be a more difficult team to defend and to try to beat on any given night.
You mentioned the maturity aspect that you've got this year, and you've got a lot of guys that are returning from last year. What has been the biggest biggest difference that you've seen from last year to this year that has led to more wins and more maturity from your squad?
Well, I think it's a couple things, right? One, every year you come back, in our case, a little bigger and a little stronger, which obviously is super helpful. Anytime that you can add that physical maturity, that's helpful. The other thing too, I think, just as we've matured in the fact that the core of our group has been playing, varsity for, this is the third season where they've really been kind of all together, and just that chemistry of, all those games together and kind of being put through the crucible of what it's like to be on that floor, taking our lumps when we were, young and inexperienced, and now just kind of maturing as a group. And I think the other thing is, I think this year we're finding our guys uniquely focused on the goals that they have for the team. And so I think night in, night out, we don't deal with nearly as much uncertainty as to what the team's going to bring from maybe a mental focus or some of those perspectives, because they've just been there before and they know what they want and they don't want to let it slip by. And so I think those are some of the keys as to what we've been seeing this year.
For sure. You mentioned Gavin and Logan. You've got your two boys on the team here. So how much basketball talk goes on outside of practice? How much does it come and leak into the home?
Well, I mean, in general, I think our family's pretty passionate about the game of basketball. I think the challenge as a coach and a dad is to try to separate the two at times, right? So we'll even have conversations where I will preface the conversation with, hey, this is coach talking. And then, hey, this is just dad and son. And right. So it's you kind of have to wear two different hats, because at times when we get home, I want to separate that from being coach so that I can be the encouragement that they might need, or something different that only maybe dad can provide. And then separating that when it's time to be, when we're in the gym and I need to be coach and we need to be interact with as coach and player, not father and son. And so, so we try to thread that needle, and, and we keep hopefully getting better at that year over year. And so, but I'll tell you, it's very fulfilling being able to coach your own kids and help them try to reach their potential as any of the rest of our players.
Absolutely. Kind of sticking on that same kind of note. So is there anything that this team has taught you over the last couple of years as Park Christian head coach since you've taken over? What have they taught you?
Well, I think in general, the longer I do this, and I've not been doing it very long yet, the more that I think you're humbled in what you don't know. And I think that the thing I'm continuing to try to evolve on and learn all the time is, even with the same players, right, which for the most part for the last handful of years, the reality is what each of them needs to help them reach their potential, how each of them needs to be interacted with to help get the most out of them and feed the most into them as young men, even changes within each individual guy from year to year, sometimes from month to month. And so I think that's kind of the constant lesson, right? Is we talk a ton about basketball, right? And on these forums, and rightfully so, right? It's a basketball, that's my job, right? I'm a basketball coach, but at the same time, helping them grow as young men into the emerging leaders as they leave school and eventually as husbands and fathers. And those are the things that we're trying to breathe into them as much as the basketball, right? Because the basketball is important, but the rest of their life and all the things that we can help grow them into is to me, the most important thing we do. And so I think that's in terms of what they've taught me, is just learning how we can best try to invest in them in those ways. And sometimes you're, as much psychologist and motivator as you are coach. And so I think that's something that I'm constantly learning from this group of guys.
Sure. Shifting gears for the last couple before we get you on your way here. Sure. The new gym, it's a year old right now. You guys debuted it last year, but talk about just the experience playing within that new facility. You've got light shows going on for starting lineups. You've got thick intro videos and everything. Talk about that and how much the players love that.
That's been a fun change. Obviously, it's been a wonderful provision having the new gym, just a wonderful new space to compete in, where we can fit more fans and have more, just a more enjoyable game day experience. Like you talked about, some of the light show stuff for starting lineups, and that, those are fun things. I think we're so serious about a lot of things in general, right? About the work that we put in and all the different things we do. So sometimes we forget that, like, let's go have some fun. And so those are ways to kind of bring in the fun aspect, make it a unique and enjoyable atmosphere. And so, really just kind of fun to let the guys have a little fun and do that sort of thing. And kind of makes coming to a Park Christian game kind of a unique experience.
For sure. And lastly here, we've got playoffs coming up on the horizon here towards the end of the month. So what is the biggest thing that makes your team a threat this year, whether it's in the section or just in playoffs in general? What should teams be scared about when they play Park Christian basketball?
I think, there's a few things for us, I think, that make us successful. One is for how well-rounded we are as a group. We have a ton of experience. We have a combination of both size and guard play, and all of those guys doing unique things that make us difficult to hone in on one or two people or one or two things that we do. So hopefully that makes us enough multifaceted enough to be a challenging out come tournament time.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thank you for sitting down and joining me today on the Your Live Event Coaches Show. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That is Brendan Giese of the Park Christian Falcons on the Your Live Event Coaches Show.
The head coach, that is Jeff Ralph, here on our post-game show. And for you, Jeff, I know we talked about it. You and Matt Norman both kind of said in our pregame, trying to limit the paint touches, trying to limit that downhill mentality. But we saw both teams maybe not do that to either game plan in the first half, but in the second half, you definitely saw that right off the bat at halftime. What just kind of changed to open up that third quarter of play?
Well, I think we adjusted our defense a little bit, and that, I think, kind of caught them off guard maybe a little bit, got them on their heels. And, that Holland kid really goes to the basket strong. And we thought we'd put Jack on him, see if we could contain the dribble a little better. But I thought we really did a great job in the second half. And our I think our defense led to a lot of offense for us, which, you get a couple of easy baskets. We didn't shoot it very good in the first half. I thought we had a bunch of good looks. Didn't shoot it very good, but, we got a couple of easy ones, and that kind of gets you rolling. And offensively, if we can roll, we're pretty good. I mean, we can score some points in bunches.
I know it's after the fact, but how important was this particular win? You go on the road in Region 1 play. You got a 2-point game with Northern Cass coming up on Friday night, so a lot of points to be had in the region, so to speak, this week. But how big was it to start the week off with a win?
Well, I tell you what, this team gives us trouble. I mean, how they play, their style, the zone that they play, and it just kind of – it looks like we're just standing around and they're running all over. And, I think the way we adjusted in the second half was really good. The kids responded. And, I don't know if it's coaching. I think it's kids doing what we've showed them to do, last week and yesterday or whatever. But I think our kids just resilient. And that's a tough team. And they're young. I mean, Matt's got a good crew coming. And this is a game I was really worried about. We didn't play great in the last time we played them, and we felt like that we just mismanaged the last 3.2 seconds of that game, and that was a win that we felt like we probably should have gotten. So to come here and get this one, I think for region standing is really huge.
You're able to go 8 of 8 from the free throw line in the second half, but how about the trio again? Braden, Trayton, and also Landon here in this one, combined for 51 of the 60 points. Just what did you kind of see from those three in particular? Because it seemed like when all three of them had the ball, there was high leverage shots and good looking shots for all three throughout the game.
Yep, I think Trey kind of had us going early in the game, hit a couple shots right away. But you can see, his athleticism, a couple of those rebounds he got, offensive rebounds late, just big. Braden off the dribble. I mean, he's I feel really lucky to have him for one more year after this, He does a lot of good things. And I thought tonight Landon with 14, those are 14 points that I feel like, Matt's not counting on us getting. Landon can get maybe 6 or something, but for him to get 14, and a lot of it was off dribble penetration, and we dished to him. They had a couple switches, and he slipped and got a bucket, and those are plays we've just kind of been waiting for someone to make, and we found Landon tonight, and 14 big points for him. That's huge for us inside because we're not really a post team. So for us to get those points inside are really big.
I know there's still a lot of games to be had, but now you got a little cushion, so to speak, with that number 2 spot in the region at 5-2 in Region 1 play. You got Northern Cass coming up, then kind of the second time through the region, so to speak, here, Jeff. So we kind of chatted about it a little bit on the pregame, but coming off with another 4-quarter of victory here tonight. Biggest thing is what for this Husky team going forward with the last month of the regular season before you get to the Shack for that region tournament?
Well, we got to just stay hungry. I think we've seen, especially early January, when we were kind of complacent. We thought, oh, here we are, we're going to show up and win. And the energy in what we've done has been pretty good. I thought we were maybe back on our heels against that zone in the second quarter, but I thought our energy was good, and it's been good in practice, and that's hard to do day after day after day, and I think they brought it, and I think that paid off for us tonight. So just staying hungry, make sure we're guarding, sticking to our principles, and the coaches said after the last couple of games, man, we're sticking to the game plan. We're doing what we want to do. I thought we should have did a better job on Holland tonight, but I really think the boys are really locked in with what we want to do, and if we can get a couple easy buckets, we can be a pretty good basketball team.
Final thing for me, Jeff, before you let you go, how fun is this time of year, coach, or is it more agonizing? I mean, how do you look at it? Obviously, wins are nice, especially this late in the season. You kind of come through those dog days of the year where you go to school, it's dark, you leave practice, it's dark. Now you can see the sunlight a little bit, but what does this time of the year mean for a coach, knowing that you only have so many more practices and so many more games before you get to that must-win territory in the postseason?
This is the time where we're running on 5 hours of sleep and watching film and doing all that stuff, and but it's the best time. It's the best time for me, for our kids, the way they perform. It's a lot of fun. But I think Friday night, Northern Cass, that's 2 wins if you win, so that's 2 huge points, and I think the biggest game of the year for us. So Friday night's going to be fun.
Hey, Jeff, congratulations on the win. Enjoy the trek down to Wahpeton, and hopefully we'll talk with you later on this season.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsborough and see why there's more at 104.
Parents can influence their child's behavioral health in a few simple ways. The first is really having ongoing conversation.
Role modeling positive behavior. Parenting starts at home, and those positive influences that a parent has rolls off on their children.
Sometimes just a simple question will get a child talking, and you might learn things about your child that you just didn't know about before. If you get to a difficult topic, that's where you can reach out to Parents Lead and look for some of that information that might help you navigate that difficult topic. And that's one of the benefits of Parents Lead.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Downtown Fargo picking up the road region victory here tonight for Jay. And, we were talking with Kenley there, Jay, talking about the performance that Liv Severson had, obviously to start the game. She finishes with 19 but 14 points in the first quarter, 6 field goals, hits 2 threes. Just kind of what you see from a Liv to kind of be that offensive firepower weapon, so to speak, in that opening first quarter.
She has that capability most of the games, right? And all it takes is for her to make one. If she makes that first one, or she's going to be on. So, that's something that she's done for us now for 2 years. It's fun to see her, and when she's a tough matchup. So if you have somebody that maybe is a little apprehensive, or somebody that isn't quite as physical as her, she's going to take you to the rack. So, and then her 3-point ball has been really improved this year. So I don't know, she had 2 or 3 threes in that first quarter too, which makes her even harder to guard. So It's just really fun. Yes, our game last week at Northern Cass, she had 6 points, but she had 4 points in the last minute of the game that we needed to win. Tonight, her take that fourth quarter and this first quarter, and she's had 2 of the best quarters in the whole season for herself. So just really fun to watch her.
And that first quarter really was a difference maker. You outscored them by 15, but that 11-0 run to start the game, you win by 11 points, Jay, ironically.
Yep.
You held them scoreless for nearly 5 minutes of basketball. What did you just see from your team to come out of the gate here tonight in Fargo?
I mean, defensively, we were all over that first 5 minutes. I think we ran out of steam a little bit, and then Geiger got hot there, but we were all over the place and getting loose balls, getting our double teams. I don't even know how many tip passes we had there. Those are huge, right, just to get people off their shot, their momentum. So all that stuff was just great. And we have that capability. Like, we have those stretches in games. It's nice that we had it at the beginning of the game for one time because we don't. Usually we come out. Last few games we came out a little slow, so it was nice to have it right at the beginning, come out hot. And then we just build off it. It seemed like the whole game it was we're up 11, up 6, up 11. We always kept getting back to that 11-11. So that's good. I'm good with that. And the girls know it too.
What have you seen from Kenley Haug? Obviously, in the second half, she really ballooned her points in that second half with 16 of her 22 coming in that second half of play. Same thing like Liv, able to hit some threes, 4 of them in the game. Just kind of what did you see from her performance tonight?
The nice thing is Liv was hot right away. Then she got hot and she hit some. She can hit you with a 3. She can kind of go to the rack, but her mid-range is what carries her, right? Because she's a little bit smaller. She hits some mid-range jumpers that most girls on my team won't even attempt, and she's just ready for them. So that's really fun. Then Ava got hot for a little bit there and had some of those shots, and then Abby hit a couple shots, and then Becca hit a bucket. Like we fired off at the right times. It was just like a car engine, right? One at a time. All those pistons were firing.
You got Hushka to come in. She played some valuable minutes with some good rebounds here, Jay, defensively. And you kind of alluded to with Becca's performance, 7 points. I had her down for about 5 rebounds tonight.
Yep.
And those are just solid numbers. She might not get the opportunity to score 15 or 20. She can do that.
Yeah.
But I know you don't necessarily ask her to do that,
No.
but she plays her role so well on the team.
She does. She's not the leading scorer. But she's the brain. Like, if you listen, she's calling out plays. She's calling out defenses. She's telling people where to go. She's calling out screens. Like, she's the brains of the operation out there. And then you said Addie, her defense was phenomenal. In there when, they kind of made a run, we came back. Addie played 5 minutes, and I don't know if Geiger hardly scored for 5 minutes, but that was Addie Garter the whole time. Like, Addie's just I'm going to use what Brad Anderson, bulldog. She's a little bulldog out there sometimes, just get right in their face, and she doesn't back down from anybody. So it was really fun to see her do that.
Yeah, you got her and Ava Cotton, probably the Bulldog sisters a little bit here.
For sure.
A little bit from that standpoint.
For sure, Ava's a Bulldog.
I know you got senior night on Thursday night, Jay. Best of luck moving forward. Any particular, for fans that are coming out in attendance, what time should they get there? When are you honoring the seniors? All that fun stuff on Thursday.
So it's kind of a crazy night. We got C Squad at 4:30, and then we got JV's about 6, varsity's about 7:30. We do have second graders playing at halftime of the JV and the varsity game, so then that adds up a little bit extra time too. But I'm guessing seniors will be about 7:30. Walking across. It'll be fun. It'll be a packed house. Last time Wahpeton came up, it was packed in the gym, and we'll have big crowds. Having all those 50 second graders there and their families, and really packs the gym too. So it'll be fun.
Hey, Jay, as always, good to see you. Best of luck here throughout the Westway.
Thanks, Chase.
We'll take a quick.
Welcome into our senior spotlight portion here on our coaches show. I'm joined once again by Isaiah Wright, senior at Fertile-Beltrami, state champion football player, over 6,000 yards for his career rushing the football, and he has decided where he's going to play college football next year. University of Minnesota Duluth. First off, congratulations to you. I'm sure you and your family are stoked to be going to Duluth, and just take us through that process and what led to the decision.
Oh, yeah. The recruiting process was pretty stressful. As most people know, I was originally committed to UND, North Dakota, and I was going to be playing DB, which I didn't really like the thought of that. So I decommitted and opened my recruitment, and I don't know, that didn't go very well. I didn't get much interest, and about a couple months ago, I was very fortunate for Coach Vogler, the offensive coordinator at UMD, hitting me up and bringing me on an official visit in Duluth. And I met the coaching staff, toured the facility in the town, and met all the current players now, and just made it, I guess, feel like home.
Awesome. So you're going to be playing a little bit of running back, offensive side of the ball. What's their plans for you? Do you know their plans when you join the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I know for sure running back and maybe even a little bit of receiver, like slot receiver.
Awesome. And then you said you visited Duluth. You got to have loved the town. I've never been over there, but I've heard it's beautiful. It was probably a pretty fun visit, huh?
Yeah, it was sweet. We went like the downtown area, kind of saw a little bit of everything, and that was my first time down there, so it was pretty sweet.
That's great. And then your family has to be happy as well that you're just a few hours down the road from them, so they'll have a chance to come watch you play. I'm sure they're excited.
Yeah, they are. My grandparents, they always told me they're gonna follow me wherever I go, so their plan is to sell the house in Fertile and either move towards Duluth or to the cities where my mom is. So either way, the commute from there to me is maybe about like 2 hours.
That's awesome. And then, so you mentioned they gave you like it felt like family there. Anything specific that they did that just kind of made you feel at home and that made it a place where you wanted to go play college football?
I don't know. It was just right from the start. You walk in and they introduced themselves, but then from there it was just like you've known each other the whole entire time, and everybody, their whole like all the players there and the whole coaching staff, just they were all on the same page to make you feel that certain way.
Yeah, and I can tell it's a big relief for you to know where you're going to be headed next. I know you were stressed out about it. You were committed to UND, but just felt like it wasn't the right fit for you. And then to end up a place where you're going to get that opportunity to tote the rock. And anyone who's watched you play football knows how dynamic you are with the football in your hands. You got to be excited and relieved that you were able to find a place.
Yeah, it was a really stressful time because I know last spring I had like thoughts of if I even wanted to play college football, which was crazy because that's been my whole thing, my whole entire life. So I'm glad I finally got that figured out, and it just feels great to finally put pen on a paper tomorrow.
Yeah, and you're a senior, so just a couple more months of school. You're ready to be done with high school.
Yeah, I'm just ready for something different. It's getting a little repetitive.
Yeah, I understand that. Trust me, I do. And then, what's Isaiah Wright? What are you doing in your free time? What do you like to do outside of football, outside of scoring touchdowns? You playing video games? What's an Isaiah Wright weekend look like?
Well, right now my weekends are looking like Fridays I go to the cities, and then I have 7-on-7 football Saturday and Sunday, and then I go home. So that's my weekends. Really, it's just football. But like after weekdays after school, I lift, go home and eat something good to fuel my body, and then normally just chill and hop on the game with my friends is, I guess, really all I do here.
Nice. You mentioned that 7-on-7 down in the cities. That's got to be a lot of fun. And for a skill position player like you, it's really just honing your craft down there, huh?
Yeah, I realized so I took a year, I didn't play basketball my junior year, and I'm not playing my senior year, but I realized last winter that I don't know, I kind of felt unathletic getting back into things. So I figured out that I need to make sure I'm doing something to better myself for, college football. So I found a good team in the cities. I'm playing for a Minnesota Grind, and we have really good coaches there who are working with us every day to better ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned that you decided not to play basketball. I've never seen you play any basketball. What's your level of basketball like? You decent at basketball or not so much?
Well, I wasn't like bad. Shooting was never my thing.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to score, I could, but I had Caden Swemby on my team, so
Yeah.
I mean, he really did it all. I was just kind of there to rebound it, or if I a roll off of a pick, I just put the ball up there and scored 2 points. I wasn't nothing crazy.
Nice. Well, it looks like your guys' basketball team, though, really hasn't missed much of a beat ever since losing Caden Swenby, who you guys are playing good basketball as well. You supporting, you have a lot of football teammates that play basketball. Are you excited for those guys and potentially maybe winning another section championship this year?
Oh, yeah, 100%. One of our football coaches is the head coach of basketball, too. So he's always been there for me during like track and football. So I don't know. That was my biggest thing on quitting basketball was he's always there for me, and I felt bad not being there for him. So I just make sure I get to as much games as possible to support him as well.
That's awesome. And then looking back on your high school career, is there obviously the state championship game, but is there a single play or a single moment other than winning the state championship, obviously, that you can look back on that, is your favorite play of your career, anything like that?
No, we had this one play that we drew up, but we never, well, I guess, yeah. My favorite play would probably, it's called Joker. It's when I'm running QB, but we didn't run it that much. We ran it, I think, once or twice the whole year, but I know if we needed a touchdown off that play, that we had got it there.
You ready to throw it or what?
Yeah, we had, so I read it with Jonah, and then if the run isn't open, I drop back and I launch it to Briar.
Awesome. What are you looking most forward about going away for school, for college? Obviously playing football, but you excited to kind of become a young man? Because these are the years where, you're on your own. I know your grandparents are going to be moving out there with you. You're going to be around family, but I mean, this is really the time to grow personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready for something different.
Yeah.
It just gets really repetitive and yeah.
Yeah. He loves the town of Fertile and Beltrami, but he's ready to spread his wings, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Isaiah, thank you so much for joining me here on our Senior Spotlight. Again, congratulations. I can't emphasize enough how much of a pleasure it was to call some of your football games, and we're going to be following you through your college career, and I know you're going to do great things.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's Isaiah Wright, senior at Fertile-Beltrami, going to play college football for the Bulldogs at University of Minnesota Duluth. Thanks so much, Isaiah.
Thank you.
That again is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us for another edition on February the 12th, a week from tonight, here for our next edition of the Coaches Show, brought to you in part by our friends at the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure you join our broadcast throughout the rest of the week and postseason wrestling, as we'll have Region Boys duels in North Dakota and girls duels as well in North Dakota for video and audio only coverage here on YourLiveEvent.com on Saturday.